Hi, everybody. Welcome to Big Game Bound. We're coming to you live from sunny and beautiful Tampa, Florida. I'm Jack Doles. That's Chris Hagan. This is a great day.
You know, Jack, I had to go jacket-free, and it looks like you swapped the helmets up from yesterday. I don't know if that's a sign or not. Chiefs, though, still a 3-point favorite.
Are you just trying to beat Jarrett Payton in the Guns Out contest?
I tried. I worked out all last night. I think I'm about 20 years behind him, though.
Well, we got a great show lined up for you. We have Rich Gannon, former NFL quarterback, Mike Chappell, going to talk to us about the Hall of Fame. He's one of the presenters. Buckified Bert, super fan of the Buccaneers, is here, and he is all decked out. And on our playbook, Desean Watson, will talk about him and places that, trade options that the Houston Texans have. What are the best fits? And we'll also talk about the Tennessee Titans. What are some of their needs? But let's get this thing rolling.
Yeah, you mentioned Jarrett Payton, son of sweetness. He's a member of our team, probably the MVP. Let's be honest. And speaking of MVPs, he spent some time with the NFL's 2002 MVP, quarterback Rich Gannon.
So many things that you can kind of pull from this matchup, but what intrigues you the most?
You know, obviously the story, Jared, is the quarterbacks, and rightfully so, right? We've got two of the game's greats and Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. But the thing that has me interested is the play of the defense. I thought Tampa really played well in that game against the Packers in the NFC Championship game. And I look specifically at their ability to create some negative plays, right? 41 points off of turnovers in the 3 playoff games so far. They've got guys that can rush the passer, and I think that will be a big story in this game. If they can get around Patrick Mahomes and force him to get the ball out a little bit quicker. On the other side of it, Kansas City has played really good defensively as well. So I think for whatever reason, so much of the story is about the quarterbacks and the explosive plays on offense, but I wouldn't count out the defenses. I think whichever defense plays better in this one, I think that team will win the game. I think so much about the Super Bowl is about the playmakers, right? But defenses win championships. I think that could be the story on Sunday.
Yeah, and you look at these defenses, what they're going to have to do, and it's just amazing when you look at, what Kansas City defense is going to have to do. Bring pressure, because we know Brady does not like people around at his feet, so they got to find a way to do that. But on the other hand, with Patrick Mahomes, Rich, when you bring pressure on him, that's when he's at his greatest. How are they going to have to disguise this, and are they going to have to do it with just maybe rushing 3 or 4, or they're going to have to bring blitzes? Because when he does that, that's where he can get outside the pocket and make plays.
Yeah, you're right. I think the best way to attack Mahomes is if you can rush 4 and drop 7. Now, if you rush 4, you've got to be able to get home. You got to be able to get some pressure. You got to get him moving off the spot and force his time clock to be a little bit quicker. That's going to be the key. I think the fortunate thing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they go back and they watch that game from Week 12. They got destroyed in the first half. I mean, Brady, struggled a little bit early, and they played better in the second half. But I think defensively, the Buccaneers got exposed. They gave up 359 passing yards in the first half to Mahomes. You look at what Tyreek Hill did in that game, 269 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. It was the explosives, the big plays down the field. And I think that's going to be the key for the Buccaneers, is to be able to keep things in front of them, not let Tyreek Hill get behind you, not let Travis Kelce run down the middle of the field wide open, and take those 2 players out of the mix. And you can't double both of them every play, but you have to be aware of where they line up and do a good job keeping things in front of them and not giving up. Make the Chiefs go 80 yards in 10 or 12 plays. Don't give up the 20, 30-yard shots down the field.
Yeah, it's so hard, though, Rich, when you look at having those 2 explosive guys, right? You got a guy that can take the top off of a defense, and then if you try to have help on that side and bracket over on that side, now you kind of maybe leave the middle of the field open. And Travis Kelce is so good at finding ways to be able to either sit down in zone or just feel that leverage to be able to get himself to get the ball. To me, he could be the X factor in this game, trying to find a way to be able to slow him down.
Well, he's a mismatch. I don't care if you put, a linebacker and a safety on him, you put your best nickel corner on him, it doesn't really matter. He runs routes like a wide receiver. He's so good in space. He understands leverage, as you point out, Jared. He's a guy that can play from different platforms. He can go out and play in the slot. He can go outside the numbers. He can be an inline player. And Andy Reid he doesn't get enough credit for his ability to create, great plans, great schemes. And put the quarterback in a position where he's got a chance to make plays. And it's not just – I think it's their team speed, and it's not just Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. I mean, you look at Watkins, you look at Hardman, you look at Edwards-Helaire. They do a good job getting those players touches in space where they can create and manufacture big plays.
How big for the Bucs is it to be able to control the game on the ground and be able to run the football?
Really important. Your dad would love this conversation, obviously, because we talk so much about the passing game, but Leonard Fournette has been a big part of what they've done down there. You look at Ronald Jones, and I think Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich, they want to run the football, and they want to help Brady. And Brady, I think, we talk a lot about how great Tom Brady is, and he's arguably the greatest quarterback ever. I'll go a step further. I think he's the greatest play-action passer the game has ever seen. He loves play-action passing, even when they're not running the football, because there's a couple of reasons why. It gets a freeze in those linebackers. It allows the tight ends to work in the middle of the field a little bit better and a little bit more efficiently. And it also is a really good protection. You remember, Jarrett, from your playing days, when you fake that ball to the back, you get that squeeze. The back's able to get up in there, and you get a little bit better, tighter pocket, which is what Brady needs and likes.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this whole battle plays out on Sunday. Who do you like hoisting that Lombardi Trophy on Sunday night?
I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a competitive game. I really believe, and I'm not just saying, I think it's going to come down to a field goal. I do like the Chiefs in this one. I just think Patrick Mahomes is a guy that if the protection isn't great, he can still extend and make plays. I think it's going to be a great one. I'm going to go with the Chiefs by a field goal.
All right, so we're almost to the Super Bowl, and we're talking about the game, but it seems like everybody else is talking about another quarterback that's not in the game, and that's Desean Watson. He wants out of Houston. The Texans say, we're not moving him anywhere. Rich, is this going to get ugly in Houston? Are we going to see this thing kind of get muddy with both sides?
I sure hope not. I did a lot of Texans games this year for CBS, Jared, and I would just say that when you really look under the hood at what happened in Houston this year, it's amazing to me how well Deshaun Watson played. If you took out Patrick Mahomes and the season that Aaron Rodgers has, Deshaun Watson is an MVP candidate. I mean, he had an amazing year, and they were 31st in rushing. I think they were dead last or 31st in run defense. So he didn't get a lot of opportunities. They were dead last in time possession. I think they averaged about 56 plays a game. So he wasn't getting a lot of opportunities, and yet he still put up like crazy numbers each and every week. Their defense wasn't any good. They traded away their best wide receiver in DeAndre Hopkins. They released one of their better receivers. They had two that went on IR. They don't have a great offensive line. As I said, they weren't able to run the ball. And this guy plays at an MVP level. How would you ever move on from Deshaun Watson? I mean, he is the future of that franchise. He's a top 5 quarterback, a top 3 quarterback in our game today. You're not going to replace him. So they've got to find a way to mend that relationship. That's important. And I think they're in the process of trying to do that.
We're back live in sunny Tampa, Florida, and Chris, I think that's a great conversation that needs a little bit more.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we don't know behind the scenes that play into that. Let's bring in Jarrett Payton right now, and I'll throw this out to you, JP. Great conversation there with Gannon, but if you're Deshaun Watson, back in September, you signed that 4-year, $160 million extension. I don't think you can walk away from that. I mean, you made an agreement. You said you're going to bring a championship to Houston. Sure, there's some bad blood, but do you need to bring in Dr. Phil to make this work? Because I don't think the Texans in any way, shape, or form are just going to say, okay, we're going to trade you. You saw what they were able to get for Stafford in Detroit. You'd need a lot more than that for the Houston Texans.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack when it comes to this whole entire situation, you guys. And it's rough because – yeah, you thought you had the franchise quarterback for the future, and he doesn't seem to be happy, with everything that's happening above him in the organization. And so I just don't know how this is going to play out. To me, I think it's going to get ugly. I mean, if they don't find a suitor of one of these teams that has enough draft capital or to get what they could probably, especially I would take a team with a younger quarterback that you could bring in, the Dolphins, the Jets, and I know we'll talk about that down the line, but that makes sense with teams that have a lot of first-round picks because you're talking about one of those generational type quarterbacks that every team hopes to have, and the fact that he's not happy, this is going to play over until training camp, and let's say he decides to hold out and it starts to get real ugly. it's not going to be good for both sides. And they got to find a way to be able to sit down and try to, mend these fences and see if they can. But from everything that Watson has said so far, the people that are around him in his camp, he wants out of Houston. And that's just saying something about him and knowing his character a little bit, knowing people that know him, that he's very unhappy. So there's got to be something that's happening that he's just not happy with the management and people up above.
Jarrett, this is a topic that's gotten a lot of play and a conversation that's been going on. And we've heard Dick Vermeil and Brett Favre basically kind of say, shut up and play. You signed the contract. You owe it to the Texans to play. Do you like that players are maybe getting a little more power like they have in the NBA? Should players have that voice and that ability to force teams to do this kind of a thing and maybe make a trade?
Well, you know what? When I first saw the comments from Brett Favre, you guys, I'll be honest with you. Brett's one of my guys, love him to death, but I totally disagreed with where he was going with that. This is a different day and age when we're talking about the NFL. And Jack, you're right. It is more kind of suited towards where the NBA is going, where these guys have a voice, and especially at the quarterback position. I think you don't hear enough of NFL players speaking out when, they feel uncomfortable. Most of the time, that's been ingrained in a lot of their heads that, you go there, you work, and you find a way to be able to do it. And I go back to my dad and his time in Chicago early on in his career. He was getting his head beat in every single year, especially in the 70s. There was no offensive line, but he never said anything. Well, now guys have voices. We're talking about guys that have over, 2 or 3 million Twitter followers where they can voice their opinion. It's a totally different time now. And guys want to be able to have a hand in their futures. And I cannot fault Desean Watson for wanting to do that. So a lot of these guys saying just shut up and play, I don't agree with that. These guys have a voice, and they probably know way more than what's going on inside those organizations than we do.
Jarrett, I have a voice too. My platform, I have 9 Twitter followers, and I don't take that lightly. But when you talk about, if they go toe to toe and they have a who's going to blink first contest, and let's say the Texans, we realize it's a quarterback-driven league. They know they're not just out there. There's not enough to even fill out all 32 teams right now. What if they say, we know you're mad, you're still cashing paychecks, we're not going to trade you? How deep could a Watson go into, off-season workouts, training camp, and the season? That's really high-stakes poker right there when you think about you're going to go out there and play or not. What do you think? You talk about maybe it gets ugly. Is that as ugly as it could get?
Yeah, it could. And this thing just dragging out, you guys, right? I mean, he's got money. How much does he want to spend on those fines and all that stuff to be able to make his point? I mean, both sides are dug in, and they're going to be. And so to me, this was such an easy thing to do. And I know you don't do it in the NFL, and it's weird when you're the owner and you're the one that's signing the checks to say, listen, we're going to go to our franchise quarterback and get his say in what he would like to see for the future. But if you're planning for him to be your future, he should be a part of those conversations. And the fact that he wasn't, the fact that you got rid of his number one wide receiver as well, like, what are you doing? I saw the game here in Chicago where they lost to the Bears, I've never seen a guy get beat up so much and keep coming back into the game. When the game was over, he was still fighting. So it shows me the heart that he has. But this organization, I don't feel has done enough to be able to do right by him. And we're talking about Patrick Mahomes, and he's the next guy right there. Come on, you got to make sure he has everything at his disposal to be successful. And to me, it doesn't seem like they're doing that in Houston.
Well, as we transition into what the fits are, let's bring in JB Biunno, the wizard. JB, with the poll question, this transitions nicely into the next topic of conversation on Desean.
Yeah, and we're going to give our audience who are just about to surpass 1,000 votes here on our Big Game Bound interactive poll on Facebook Live. So we're going to see what our Facebook audience has to say. But I'm going to go around the horn here. Best trade fit that comes to your mind. Maybe, Jack, we'll start with you today, and we'll come back around this way. Best trade fit before we get to our poll results, because they're just now really surpassing 1,000.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with the fact that I'm a Bears fan, but I think Chicago would be a great place for Desean Watson. Definitely for the Bears it would be.
I know the Texans, they certainly don't want him in the AFC. How about this? We talked about the other day about how well the Saints have drafted over the years. What about the New Orleans Saints?
That would be a great spot for him.
We were talking about Saints yesterday.
So, yeah, I lost track of the days, JB. I'm sorry. But, yeah, could you imagine that? You give away some of those picks, maybe some of the young talent the Saints have, and then you replace Drew Brees with a Deshaun Watson.
All right, so real quick. I got to ask this. So we're just talking about best fit, not with – does this have to put in draft capital and all that stuff? Because if that's the case, you're looking at teams like the Jets or the Dolphins who have younger quarterbacks and also a lot of picks.
I'm thinking too deeply.
Jack, I am with you. Chicago would be an amazing spot for him, but I think that it's too far gone because of Ryan Pace and this organization passing up on him in the draft, going for Mitchell Trubisky. I don't think he wants to come here. But thinking about how good the defense still could be here in Chicago, plus the fact of having a guy like Allen Robinson, who I think they're going to franchise tag or hopefully get a deal done with him, some of the young guys on that offense, to me, it would be a perfect spot right here in the NFC North to be able to have him. And we would get the guy that I was hoping and praying for with that number 4 on his chest, with that blue or white jersey on. Please, Deshaun, if you're watching, come here. Listen, like JB, I'll write a poem for you if you want to come here.
I love that. I love more poems.
Hey, you better clip off that clip right there and make sure it gets posted on Twitter, and you better tag Deshaun because JP just made the case right there.
And if he ends up in Chicago, we want to hear that poem, Jarrett.
I love the Bears fit. I think he'd be great with San Francisco. The Jets are a dumpster fire. Let's just not ignore that for a second. I can't believe that Deshaun Watson wants to go to New York. I get the big market appeal. I get it. But top to bottom, that organization is a mess, and they would have to give up so much to get him. So I don't really understand the whole Jets logic. I don't think he ends up in New York, but it's going to be very curious to see where he does end up. Let's bring in our audience here, and we have now 1,100 votes in our interactive poll. Which team is the best fit for Deshaun Watson? Wow, the Bears coming in at 25%. 18% for the Miami Dolphins. That's an interesting, destination with Tua over there. And then the Jets, 16. Thank goodness our audience here agrees. The Jets are not really a good spot for Deshaun. You don't want to see Deshaun Watson, that superstar, go to a franchise that just isn't going to do anything for him. That's just me, in my opinion. But other is actually the most popular choice here at 42%. We had some commenters here talking about maybe the New England Patriots. Maybe Bill Belichick is lurking out there. I see JP's – let's bring JP back up here. Man.
Hey, JB, you guys, I have to. I just got chills. Okay, so I'm with you, JB, when you talk about the San Francisco 49ers. Like, you talk about that defense getting healthy again, and the offensive weapons that you have, that would be an amazing fit in the offensive mind that you have with Shanahan. That right there, I think, would be an amazing fit for Watson. But, man, dumpster fire in New York with the Jets, if they could find a way to be able to – I just don't think this is going to happen, you guys, honestly, because there's no way the Texans are really going to give up one of those generational type players. I don't think they could stomach it, and – wouldn't matter what you're getting back, you're still not going to get a guy at that type of caliber. You might not ever find that type of quarterback in the draft down the line as well.
I want to make one case for Watson to the Jets. One of the most iconic pictures in all of Super Bowl history is Joe Namath sitting by a pool with reporters without a shirt. We're still talking about that today, and that was Super Bowl III, right? If he goes there and he wins the Super Bowl or brings the Jets back to prominence, he can write his ticket for the rest of his life. He's Mr. New York.
No, Jack, if he comes here to Chicago and wins a championship here and brings this organization back, I'm telling you right now, I know we talk about the three-peats with Jordan. We talk about the 85 Bears. That this market, he would be loved forever. Chicago would be the best fit for that young man.
And I bet you Jarrett would lure him to WGN to be his pregame football Bears guy for the rest of his life. Lifetime contract.
The top offseason storyline for sure, you guys. Can't wait to see what happens with Deshaun Watson, the Houston Texans, and a potential trade destination. For the record, the three favorites in Las Vegas apparently are the New York Jets, the Carolina Panthers, haven't talked about them, and then also the Miami Dolphins. Let's get now to our next story. I want to talk here about a very special special person here in my life as we bring up JP. No, you know, you are a very special person in my life, JP. But let's come back here.
That's a Freudian slip there.
Hit the wrong button there. No, it was a Freudian slip. Another very special person in my day-to-day life here at WFLA is Buccaneers superfan Buckified Bert. He is an employee here at WFLA News Channel 8 in downtown Tampa. And when Tom Brady signed March 20th, 2020, he joined me on WFLA Now, our live streaming platform, very similar here to Big Game Bound, and he made a prediction for a lifetime. Take a listen.
Does Tom Brady make the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a Super Bowl contender or a favorite?
I mean, we're favorite. I mean, he's motivated. He's getting ready to make history. The guy has 6 Super Bowl rings. The guy won 7 Super Bowl rings, and he's going to get it in Tampa. And no team has ever hosted Super Bowl and played in the Super Bowl at the same time. And Tom Brady is getting ready to make history. We rock the world. Tom Brady is coming down here, and he's doing what he's got to do to make history. And I can't wait. I'm just excited right now, just being a fan. I get a chance to be the fan that cheer Tom Brady taking the Buccaneers from Raymond James all the way to Raymond James at the Super Bowl, baby. From Raymond James all the way to Raymond James at the Super Bowl. Tell her, you hear what I'm saying? From Raymond James all the way to Raymond James at the Super Bowl on Del Mabry corner.
From how do I follow that up, everybody?
JB.
From Raymond James to Raymond James at Dale Mabry corner, everybody. Let's bring in our own Buckified Bert here. He's live on the balcony with you.
I thought Jarrett was the biggest super fan on the show today, talking about the Bears and waving his finger, but no, he's been beat. Let's bring him in live. Buckified Bert in the house.
Hey, Jarrett, I just have to say something before I really get started. Jarrett, I really appreciate talking to the legacy of your father, because before 1999, your father started this trying to start recognizing super fans, and I'm a benefactor of your daddy work, and I can't thank you enough for being a legacy of your father. I appreciate being one of the Hall of Fame. I was inducted at the Hall of Fame in 2017 for a fanatical fan, and your dad started us off back in 1999. So I really appreciate that, and I worked with Tyrone Keys to help give out scholarships. We gave out 17 scholarships, and Tyrone Keys is number 98 that played on the Super Bowl when your dad won the Super Bowl. So I appreciate having a chance to talk to you, Jarrett. JP, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you too, man. That's awesome. Buckified, I love you, man.
man, and the story is going to be completely told. I'm so happy to have this opportunity to come back, to finish up what I started in March the 20th, 2020. See, I knew that we was going to get to this promised land of Raymond James to Raymond James. Now, when the story is completely told, we're going to win a Super Bowl on Del Mabry corner and MLK. And I cannot wait to hear and see the Buccaneers play, because we got what it takes. We won it all in 2003. We're going to do it again this Sunday. You just wait and see. I can't wait, baby. It's on. And I will be in the house. Trust me, I got tickets. I got one more person I got to find to bring to the game. But Buckified Bert, we'll be at Raymond James, and things ain't going to be the same.
Yeah. Buckified Bert, first of all, I got to tell you, you're hyping up Walter Payton and Tyrone Keys, both of them, like me, from Mississippi. So props to the Magnolia State. But, you know, we've been getting predictions all week long. I got to ask you, who do you like on Sunday?
Who do I like on Sunday? I'll tell you what. We going down in history with Tom Brady getting Super Bowl ring number 7. And we want what Kansas City already have. They have 2 Super Bowl rings. Come Sunday, we're going to have 2 Super Bowl rings. But what we're going to have that Kansas City ain't never done was we're going to have a Super Bowl 1 at our home.
All right, Buckified, I've got to ask you, how'd you score the ticket? These aren't easy to come by.
I can't.
Okay. Shady connection.
Am I mic'd up?
Yeah, you are.
No, I can't.
Well, what does it mean to you to be able to see your Bucks play in a Super Bowl right in your own stadium?
Yeah, because I grew up in Tampa, and we've been a laughing stock of the city. Of the NFL for a long time. We started out the gate 26 losses in a row, and now we on top of the world. We on top of the world because this Sunday, we going to put something on Kansas City. I'm telling you, with that guy named Hill, he made us mad when he did a flip inside the end zone, and we shut him down after that. So second half, they got shut down. So this third meeting, we going to take it to them, baby. We want them. And this time, they got to deal with Vita Bay. Vita Bay, baby.
How long, this outfit, your getup that you wear and are, in the Hall of Fame for, where'd it come from? How long did this take to put together?
Oh, it took a little while to put together because it's Buckified is an acronym that stands for Be Understanding Citizens, Identify Friendly Individuals Each Day because a stranger can be danger. You want kids to rise above the negative peer pressure. You use the platform to not be just fanatical just to be fanatical, but the fanatical to have a phenomenal impact on the community. That's why so if they try to gravitate to being like Buckified, then I got to talk the talk and walk the walk. And just like I told them in March 20th, I'll be cheering on Tom Brady. They're going to find out come Sunday. I wasn't lying. I'll be cheering on Tom Brady to get that 7th ring at Raymond James, baby.
Buckified Bert, do you miss the creamsicle uniforms like I do? Because that was legit.
No, this year I had to have 3 outfits, and I started out with the throwback and with the creamsicle, like you were saying. But I started off with the throwback, and then that started losing games. And so I had to switch up to the gray. And then the gray lost to the Kansas City Chiefs the first time, November the 29th. And so now I got to put that white in it. So the Buccaneers going to be wearing white come Sunday night. And we're going to do what we got to do. Because I tell you, the defense is vicious and mean, and they operating like the well-oiled machine. I can't wait to see the Buccaneers play and feel the cannon power. Let me hear you say, come on, somebody. Tampa Bay.
Buckified, it's JB. Can you hear me, pal?
Oh, my JB, I got you, baby. You're coming in nice and clear. I like the way you got all mic'd up and everything.
Buckified, you're one of my best friends at WFLA, man. Hey, you predicted this the day Brady signed. You predicted that this was going to happen. Buckified, why did you not get me the $1 billion lotto numbers last week when we were talking about this, man? What's the next? Give us your score prediction for Sunday, Buccaneers versus Chiefs.
They may get 16, 17 points. I'm telling you that they may get 16, 17 points. But I'm telling you, we're going to have 35 to 40 points on this because we really ready. We're going to shut down that flipper. I call him Flipper. We're going to shut down that flipper because he shouldn't have did what he did. He made my whole defense mad, and my defense can't wait to get him again.
Buckified Bert, we're a little bit more than 48 hours away from kickoff. I'm wondering, are you going to sleep between now and then? And if so, what time will you wake up on game day and start the preparations?
Well, trying to go to sleep, it's not easy because ever since talking to JP on March the 20th, I've been having sleep deprivation because of my analytical prognostication. So it's so on point, it's so accurate. So when you talk the talk and then the Buccaneers back you up and now we walking the walk. I mean, so I got to really try to rest. I don't know if you can give me any tips. I appreciate it.
I'm curious, how much did you study film of Muhammad Ali talking to the media before you started this path? Because you got that Ali trash talk rhythm to you.
But with Ali talk the talk, and he was the greatest. Yep. And see, and Patrick Mahomes is kind of like, he's a GOAT wannabe. He got 1 Super Bowl ring. And now they want to make him up there with Tom Brady, who got 6. You know what happened when Drew Brees went up against Tom Brady in postseason? Drew Brees got shut down. And then you know what happened when Green Bay went up against Tom Brady? He got shut down. It's like Tom Brady is the GOAT, baby. We got the GOAT.
Buckified Bert, don't get mad at me. I know I got the Chiefs helmet's over here by me, so don't come after me because I'm a little frightened right now. But thanks for joining us. Super excited. I'm glad you're getting to go to the game, and I hope you're happy at the end of the day. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Come on, Chris, and thank you so much, Jack. I really appreciate that, JP.
Somebody get Buckified Bird a Gatorade and a
a
ventilator. He may need one.
You should
right
have a seat for a second, Buckified. We got you worked up in a ladder.
Yeah, I forgot what I had to do. Okay.
It's hot out here. It's 73 degrees. JB, what do you want to talk about now? It's going to be tough to follow.
Guys, we got our team focus. I don't know how we follow that, but we got our team focus next. Tennessee Titans.
The Tennessee Titans have obvious and glaring needs as they approach the 2021 season. The first one is cap space. It has been a long time since the cap has been an issue in Nashville, but if it drops to $175 million, they'll be about $7 million over right now. So even if it does stay around $195 million, they're still going to have some work to do if they want to be able to just re-sign potential free agents like Corey Davis, Jonnu Smith, and Daquan Jones. Now, the Titans also still need coaches. Mike Vrabel never named a defensive coordinator last season, and now offensive coordinator Arthur Smith is the head coach of the Falcons. So Vrabel has two very big hires to make. Personnel-wise, the Titans have to find some pass rushers. They finished the season with only 19 sacks, tied for worst ever for a playoff team. Jadeveon Clowney and Vic Beasley were both massive failures for Tennessee, so GM John Robinson has to do better this year and bring someone in who can actually help Harold Landry hit the quarterback. Now last, they got to figure out a way to find someone who can catch passes opposite of A.J. Brown. Corey Davis had a breakout year, but he has an expiring contract. And Adam Humphries is expected to be a cap casualty. The Titans can pay Davis. They can pay someone else, or they can roll the dice in the draft. But they need someone.
All right, thanks. Corey Curtis does such a great job for us on Big Game Bound all year. Brings up a lot of great topics. But I think the biggest loss, Arthur Smith, their offensive coordinator, hired by the Atlanta Falcons as a head coach.
Sometimes you're a victim of your own success, and great franchises, they'll lose guys all the time like that. The Titans, division champs in the AFC South, 11 wins. That'll be a battle with the Colts. But you see, the Colts now looking for a quarterback. We know about the troubles in Houston, Jacksonville, what's going on down there. New head coach, of course, in Urban Meyer. So that division will be theirs for the taking again. When you talk about it all starts with Derrick Henry. If we're talking about, do you need a pass rusher? Do you need a pass catcher? I think you get some weapons on there for Tannehill. You got the stud, Derrick Henry. Play action pass serves him well. You need some guys to catch the football, and I think that's job one.
Jarrett, you thinking defense the most important thing, or would you get more weapons for Tannehill?
It's weird because you have A.J. Brown, who is a legit number one guy. Corey Davis, they didn't pick up his fifth-year option, and he kind of disappointed as well. I think you can go out and find wide receivers. It's hard to find pass rushers, and they took that flyer one-year deal with Jadeveon Clowney. It did not work out. They got to find a way. I think they only had 19 sacks all season, was the third worst in the league. They have to get better at getting after the quarterback. Feel like you could find Tannehill's probably in the draft and these young wide receivers coming out of college that could get guys that could come in and play well, especially down later in the draft. And so I would go defense, definitely.
Yeah, they're losing Jayon Brown possibly too, another one of their linebackers, and still have Rashaan Evans and David Long Jr. coming back. So they've got some core there, but running out of depth. And if you lose some of these key free agents, you got to replace them. But yeah, defensively has been their issue.
They need more out of Jeffrey Simmons, a first-round draft pick, defensive end, another Mississippi State Bulldog, so I know all about him. They need more production out of him. They took a flyer on him because he was going to be injured and not be ready to go at the start of his rookie season. They need him to get 100% healthy. Maybe after that last year, maybe he takes that step like you see a lot of guys do on the defensive line.
Yeah, and I want to say, too, just really quickly on the quarterback situation in Tennessee, that is proof that if a quarterback isn't working with one particular franchise, it doesn't mean you write them off. Ryan Tannehill was a write-off with the Dolphins, comes to the Titans, and he's their guy now. There's no quarterback controversy. There's no hot seat for the quarterback in Tennessee, in Nashville. So really great to see that Ryan Tannehill has resurrected his career. And my goodness, if you're not drafting Derrick Henry in the first few picks of your fantasy draft next year, what are you doing? He just does time and time again. He just proves that he is just the bull horse, really, for that bulldog for that offense. Really,
yeah, Jarrett, off the top of your head, is there a team that's got a better three-headed monster right now than these guys with A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill?
No, it's hard because Derrick Henry just kind of sets the tone, you guys. And I think that's what every team is looking for. But he is so dynamic. He's so big, so fast. So finding a guy like that and having a guy like that in your backfield, especially when you get late in games, he can just bull you down, run you down, and wear you down. And so that's what you really want. And so they got a nice little three-headed monster. Defensively, like I said, they have to get better. And if they can do that, be able to contend. But they haven't been able to get over that hump yet. They've had some roadblocks. They got to use those as stepping stones to get to the top.
Guys, is bull horse a word? I'm just now coming back to that. I did bulldog and workhorse in one. I combined those two.
I bought it.
I like it.
We're gonna invent that. Before we say farewell to Jarrett Payton's tickets still available for the Jarrett Payton Gun Show here. Don't forget, you guys.
Put it up there, JP. Let's compare
it.
Who wore it best? I think I did.
Chris, put yours down, man.
My tickets to the gun show are buy two, get one free. So how about that for a better deal?
Love it, you guys.
All right, JP, we'll see you, bud.
We'll see you, JP. Next up here on Big Game Bound. Hey, Tom Brady, you heard of him? Yeah, he's pretty popular. He's got a really nice house with his lovely wife, Gisele Bündchen. It is a house that he's renting from New York Yankee Derek Jeter, and it's kind of become a must-see spot here this weekend as people come into town for Super Bowl 55. What's the best way to see Tom Brady's house? Don't knock on the door. But some people are taking the waterways to see Tom Brady's home right here in Tampa Bay.
Hey, I'm Pat McGonigal at the Super Bowl Experience in Tampa, Florida for Super Bowl 55, where the Chiefs hope to run it back. Now, you may have heard by now, Tampa and Tom Brady have established a love affair. In fact, some people call it Tampa Bay. It's worked out pretty well. Brady here in Tampa. He's so popular, there are actually boat cruises where you can go and look at Brady's house and maybe catch a glimpse of TB12. So naturally we did. Take a look at this. It is a colossal house. It looks more like a mall than an actual home. 7 bedrooms, 8 baths, a full service bar, 6-car garage, air conditioned. Unbelievable. A movie theater. Now, we talked to the captain who took us out to see Brady's house, and he said,
Oh, we lost the end of that report, but a great, you got a little glimpse there of the Tom Brady house. Really, thanks to Pat for that report, by the way. Also, worth mentioning, yeah, it does have air conditioning. I would really hope here in Florida that the home has air conditioning, given what we endure here in Tampa Bay in June, July, and August. But that full story is on our websites here. Just click on the link. It'll take you over to the website where you can find more of all the stories we have from all of our great Next Star reporters right here in Tampa Bay, you guys.
All right, so Chris, who would you rather be, Tom Brady or Derek Jeter?
Yes. Both of them. I'll tell you who else I'd like to be. I'd like to be Mike Chappell from Indianapolis. He's been covering the Colts since the Mayflower rolled in back in 1984. He's also a Hall of Fame
so
selector.
Not the boat, the Mayflower.
Not the boat, yeah.
Okay.
Learn your history there, Jack.
All right.
He's been covering the Colts since 84. He's a Hall of Fame selector. He's a Hall of Fame presenter. He made the case for Edgerrin James last year, who'll be going in this year. And then he had the tough task, guys, of presenting for Peyton Manning this year. I assume, Chap, it was just 2 words when you made that presentation to the Hall of Fame selectors.
And, Mike, don't forget to unmute yourself there.
Hey, Chap, you got to unmute. Coming along.
Otherwise, Chris is going to do a story on
Chap, you there?
Yeah, it's rare whenever you have a guy where 2 names is all you have to say. It's Brett Favre and Jerry Rice and Dan Marino and people like that. And Peyton's, if you have to explain why Peyton Manning belongs in Canton, you haven't been paying attention, and you shouldn't be in the discussion anyway.
So did you just say 2 words, or did you actually take time and make a presentation for him?
No, I said 2 words. I said Peyton Manning, and I said, this is on a Zoom call, and I said, if you can see me, I'm dropping the mic. And again, it's just one of those rare times you don't want to take the chance of not presenting a guy properly. But again, if you don't know Peyton and his background, I mean, what are you doing in the room to determine Hall of Fame people?
Chap, you were there when Peyton is drafted in '98. There was the whole Ryan Leaf, Peyton Manning thing, and Manning made sure they knew they had taken the right quarterback in that situation. We know about the numbers. We know about the 2 Super Bowl titles, 4 Super Bowl appearances. But how can you put him into perspective in the place of history? You know, Tom Brady, they shared, several seasons against one another. Brady has all those Super Bowls. He's going for a 7th. But what about Payton? Do you take away a little bit from his legacy because he only had the 2 championships?
No, I think when you say only 2, well, how many quarterbacks, how many franchises would like only 2? I realize there's one in Indy and one in Denver. But when you look at Payton and his influence, look at Indianapolis. Chris, you and I have been here. The city's different. It's just different. And had it not been for Payton in the great, great surrounding cast, the Marvins and Edgerins and Tarek Glenn and Reggie and on, there wouldn't be a Lucas Oil Stadium. And you could argue to some extent that maybe the Colts would have left town. I mean, that's how strong his impact was. Look at the high school scene now. Look at how high schools have changed and improved and all across the state. And that's in large part Peyton Manning's influence, the Payback Classic. So I just think it's someone, David Letterman, he's got a statue outside the stadium, for crying out loud, which, you and I were both there. You were the MC. Yeah. When they do that, you're just a different level. And, you can argue, and we all have argued, Brady or Manning or Manning or Brady. But locally, the Peyton Manning Children's Hospital, I mean, it's on and on and on. It's rare when one person has that type of influence, but how do you say he didn't have that type of influence?
Mike, how did you, first 2-part question, how did you become a presenter? And what goes into presenting for somebody like Reggie Wayne? How much time are you putting in, effort, and how do you make that presentation to the panel?
I've been doing it for about 20-some years. I took over for John Banch. Each city, each market has a representative, so 32 representatives in, and then there'll be 16 at large. And again, that market's person is assigned that player. I did Marvin, I did Edgerrin, Reggie, I did part of Tony Dungy. I hope to do, Robert Mathis and Freeney and Adam Vinatieri coming up. But you just try to give you get about 5 minutes, you get about, you try to find the bullet points of why this guy belongs with 300 and some people in Canton, Ohio. And if you're one of the final 15 in the room, you probably belong there. It's like 85% of the people that get in the room eventually get into the Hall of Fame. Sometimes you have to wait your turn. Peyton obviously didn't. Edgerrin did. Marvin did for 3 years, which I still don't agree with. But you just have to kind of say, this guy, because again, all these guys are great players. In this past year, we had Reggie and Torrey Holt and Calvin Johnson. What I've tried never to do is say, well, this guy deserves to be in over this guy because that, at some level, you're criticizing the other player. And that's what you don't want to do. You just sort of say, this is what this guy did. This is why he belongs. Did he check all the boxes? Championship, regular postseason, longevity. And you hope that the guy's career stands on its own when you look at everyone else. So you make your best effort, and sometimes it works. But again, you're always going against 14 other quality people. And what people have to understand, only 5 modern-era players get in every year. It's always funny. Somebody says, well, this guy should have gotten in. And they'll say, well, who do you want to take out? Well, I don't want to take anybody out. Well, no, it doesn't work that way. You get 5 guys. So it's difficult, but you just do the best you can and hope that the people in the room agree with what you argue.
So, Mike, is it a analytical pitch? Is it an emotional pitch? Does it get pretty contentious at times?
Depending on the player. We've had times in players that there's been a lot of discussion on. It's it's on-field contributions. Well, sometimes people want to get fuzzy on if a player was suspended for whatever reason. That's off-field, but it impacts the team on-field, and maybe it works against players. But emotion really shouldn't enter into it. And there have been players who were really not very easy to work with the media. Maybe they weren't great interviews or they didn't interview. That really shouldn't enter into it. And the same way as if a player is really easy to work with, that shouldn't really weigh into it. It should just be the guy, what his career did, how did he stack up against everyone else? Did he carry himself the right way? I mean, that's part of it as well. But the overriding criteria is what did you do for the game, in the game, for your teams, and did you carry yourself the right way? And most guys check most of those boxes.
Cap, I always make this analysis in baseball when we'll see guys, AAA baseball players in Indianapolis, and they never make it. They're not as good in the bigs. They're great in AAA, so I call them AAA and a half players. Are there some Hall of Fame guys like that are just perennially in that top 15? Maybe they're 11 or 12 every year. Do you find guys that get stuck in that process and can never seem to get over the hump for a few years?
Yeah, and we had some of those this year with John Lynch has been it for 8 or 9 years. Tony Baselli, Alan Faneca. So you get that. And the problem we're running into is, well, if he didn't make it last year, then he's going to make it next year. Well, it can be a different group. You know, this year, the 15, it included Payton, Charles Woodson, Calvin Johnson, Reggie, and Torrey Holt, and Faneca and Baselli. And, you know, Payton's going to get in. There's a very good chance Charles Woodson gets in as a first-time eligible player. Well, if Calvin Johnson theoretically gets in, that's 3 first-time players that get in. That leaves you 2 spots for guys, many of whom have been in the room for a long time. So every time you have so many first-year eligible players get in, and they deserve it. I mean, most times there have been a few I've not agreed with, but when you do that, it limits the number of, you know, of the guys that have been around. It hurts their chances, and it pushes them forward. Well, maybe next year's class, you know, it's like I said, if Reggie doesn't make it, well, maybe next year. Well, you don't know who next year's class is going to be. So to tell a guy to wait your turn is sort of cruel because you don't know every year, for the most part, who's going to be in that class and who might he be going up against. It might be a different class. It might be a better class. So I understand guys who get rankled by having to wait. Edgerrin was really upset that he had to wait so long. But you just once you get in, you're a Hall of Famer. They don't say, here's Edgerrin James. It took him 6 times to get in or whatever. Once you're a Hall of Famer, you're a Hall of Famer. But to tell a guy year after year that maybe next year's your time, it can be cruel to that player and the people around him.
Well, Mike, I know you do an amazing job covering the Colts, and one of our topics today was Desean Watson and Fitz. Do you think the Colts are satisfied at quarterback? Are the Colts a team that might make a move to try and pull a Desean Watson into Indianapolis?
First, I can't imagine as many dumb moves that the Texans have made. I can't imagine them being, you know, Dumb and Dumber level to sit him inside the division. I don't think – I think Desean Watson fits anywhere. He's that quality of a quarterback, and he's young and all that. I don't see the Colts making that kind of a move just because what it would take to get him. You know, whatever you think, 2 1s, 2 2s, 3 1s, whatever, and players. But they need a quarterback. Right now, the only quarterback under a contract is Jacob Eason, and I just don't know that they saw nearly enough of a 4th-round draft pick in his rookie year to make any kind of legitimate assessment. So, you know, they were linked to interest in Matthew Stafford. There was interest, not to the level that the Rams got. So, you know, now we're going to move on to the next quarterback, Carson Wentz or whomever, Sam Darnold. I think it's safe to say that the quarterbacks, the Colts starting next September probably isn't on the roster because I just don't see it being Jacob Eason.
He's Mike Chappell. He's been covering the Colts since they became the Indianapolis Colts. He's a Hall of Fame selector, Hall of Fame presenter, and he's a Hall of Famer in my book. Chap, thanks for the time, and we will see you one of these days when I get back to Indianapolis.
Be good, people. Thanks.
Can't get better than Chap, man. He knows his stuff. And can you imagine getting in that room and you're making the cases? Because like he said, you got a player that feels like he's a Hall of Famer. His family, his people are all one. And it's upon him to go in there and tell those other guys why he belongs.
Yeah, that's incredible pressure to have upon your shoulders. And I'm sure I've got to believe it gets pretty impassioned in there, and I've got to believe it gets pretty contentious at times because everybody believes what they believe, and you're pushing for them, and you want them in there because you probably want to make that phone call, hey, we got you in.
It was a nice look behind the curtains, and when we look behind the curtains on Big Game Bound, we go say hi to JB.
Yeah, guys, man, I want to fill everybody in here to a major development in the world here that I just found out about here a moment ago. My mom, Dorian Clara here, Mom, just texted me out of the blue and said, Tampa is winning on Sunday.
Uh-oh.
I feel it strongly.
Uh-oh.
Mom with the bomb drop.
The mom drop.
The mom drop. Guys.
Is she the same kind of fan as Buckified?
Same
level?
No.
Okay.
She's a casual football fan, but
Right.
she's feeling it in her bones that A beautiful singer, by the way. My mom is a wonderful singer, and she is singing the tune that the Buccaneers are going to win this Sunday at Super Bowl 55, you guys. Man, we're getting that's the wrong button. We are getting closer here in Tampa.
That was like the 1960s, Jack. You saw that kind of little trip there for us on the graphics there.
It's
but
kind of
yeah,
cool.
It feels good. We've been down here all week, but now we've hit Super Bowl weekend. It's almost here.
So fired up. Well, that'll wrap Big Game Bound for tonight. For Chris Hagan and Jarrett Payton and JB Biunno, I'm Jack Doles. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back here same time, live tomorrow, 1 o'clock, for another episode of Big Game Bound. See you then.